You're in the market for a home in the metro Atlanta area, but specifically inside the perimeter. Now, we understand based on Zillow 2025 data that the median sales price for a home inside the perimeter is around $365,000. Okay, so you get with an agent, you explain to them, what you're looking for, what your budget is. And they go out and they tell you, hey, we know an area called the Upper West Side in Atlanta. And this could be a good area for you to move into. And they start showing you some of the homes that are being offered there. And what you do is you realize that many of these homes in this particular area, they're under $300,000, maybe even some under $250,000, right? And they start to look really, really attractive to you. And so this is where the average person would stop. They would just look at home, price, location. Okay, it works for me. Let me try to figure out whether or not I can move into this particular area, right? Here's what you would understand if you did a little bit more research. The Upper West Side of Atlanta is a historically lower income industrial area, right? So you had a lot of really, really heavy industry there. You have a large railroad footprint in that particular area. And historically, that area was lower income. They've now done a lot of zoning changes to make that area more commercial, make it a lot more dense residential because they're trying to change that area. However, what I want you to understand is that there can be lingering impacts. And there also can be things going on currently because of the heavy industrial footprint that's there that has not moved out of the area. And what we're going to talk about in this video is your health or your home, environmental pollution, and economic warfare in Metro Atlanta. Here are some of the industrial businesses that have a footprint in that Upper West Side area. So the first is going to be Standard Concrete Products. The second was going to be BJAC Plant, McDonald Atkinson, which is a power plant. The third is going to be Argos USA LLC Cement Plant. And the fourth is going to be Sterigenics. It's a health company. They do medical sterilization. Now, here's going to be some of the risks of these industrial businesses being in this particular area. First thing you got to be worried about is pollution. We're always worried about pollution running into the water supply from these particular businesses. BJSC, the power plant, has been accused by many groups of not really handling their waste properly and people being worried about that waste going into the Chattanooga River. And the majority of the Atlanta metro area drinks water that comes out of the Chattanooga River. You have to worry about if there's any kind of environmental exposure that can be detrimental to people that maybe already are under some type of health risk. They have asthma, some type of respiratory issue, some type of cardiovascular issue. You have to worry about some type of genetic damage from exposure to maybe some of the chemicals that are coming from these particular organizations, especially with a business like Sterigenics. Now, here's the area that we're looking at. And we're going from $350,000 to $800K. And so we're looking at the Carver Hills area. We're looking at Whittier Mill Village, Riverside, Lincoln Homes, West Highlands. Then on the other side of the railroad tracks, Hills Park, right? And so what we're seeing is that a lot of the homes in this area are around the $500,000 mark or greater, right? We're at $350,000 to $800,000 for a home. We kind of excluded the townhomes. And so this is what we're looking at. Now, we realize is that this is a very desirable area now, the Upper West Side, because on Marietta Boulevard, which is east, right, of this particular section, there's a commercial district all up and down Marietta Boulevard. There's things for you to do, places to go shopping. There's a Publix over here, the whole 9 yards. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change the pricing, right? And we're going to go from $0 to $300,000. Okay. And I'm going to show you what comes up. So now what we get to come up now is this home over here in Riverside, right off Main Street for $264. Let's pull this up real quick. And so what we see is something that is commonly done in these particular areas. They just price cut it by $5,000. It's sitting on half an acre, but it's a 2-1. What a lot of people would do, because we saw the prices of the homes in the area, they're not 2-1s. They'll buy this particular property, they'll knock it down, and then build a whole new property on top of it, right? Because they have the land to do it because they're sitting on half an acre lot, okay? let's go back to the search. And so Lincoln Homes, 250, 275, 299, 185. And then over here in Carver Hills, we have it at 255, 175, 255, 280, 175, 210. So Carver Hills is one of the few neighborhoods in this particular area where homes are not $400,000 or greater. And so this is where agent can say, hey, I can get you into this area that's on the come up. You can get in at these price points. You can get in for 174. You can get in for 210. However, without you knowing about what's really going on inside of the outlying areas, you may not know some of the health risks that you could be taking by moving into this particular area. Whittier Mill Village right now is primarily a white area. The Riverside is primarily a white area. These areas, which used to be predominantly black, have moved more predominantly white, because if you're in Whittier Mill or Riverside, you're really just south of Vinings by 280. You can get right into Vinings, and Vinings is a really, really nice area in the metro. I want you to kind of understand what's going on in the area. The power plant is right here off Plant Atkinson, right? We know that the concrete plant is right in this particular area here. These are the things that somebody will be living around, but because there's so much of demand on real estate, I think people are overlooking that. So you want to ask yourself, is it worth living in these particular areas, even though I can get in at a lower price point? Maybe I'm taking a large risk to get in at a lower price point, and it can be detrimental to my health, and it can be detrimental to my health at a later date, and I may not be aware of it until that starts to pop up. Something else you want to be worried about is that if a government agency finds out that this particular area is detrimental to you, right? The problem is that the damage has already been done. So these are some of the things that you want to look at. So ask yourself initially, why were people ever put into this particular area, right? And we kind of understand why. Then why would I want to now move into this particular area? Now, this area of Atlanta is very, very desirable, right? It's very, very desirable. However, is it worth maybe some of the health risks that you could be taking to live into this area? So even though that you could get into the metro at this low price point, it still could be detrimental to your health 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Now, let's go into this particular story about Sterigenics, because there was a story a few years ago about real estate property or real estate values being negatively impacted because of their proximity to Sterigenics. And let's go into that story real quick.
A company accused of releasing toxic chemicals into a Cobb County neighborhood is now settling multiple lawsuits. Medical sterilization plant Sterigenics agreed to pay out $35 million to resolve 79 claims. Neighbors living near the facility claim they were exposed to ethylene oxide, a gas linked to cancer and birth defects. Sterigenics says the settlements are not an admission of guilt. Meanwhile, dozens of other complaints still have not been resolved and could go to trial by 2025.
Tonight's home values are plummeting near a medical sterilization plant. We've reported on two plants, one in Covington and another near Smyrna in Cobb County. We're talking about Sterigenics in Cobb. 5,000 homes within a 2-mile radius are affected here. Channel 2 Cobb County Bureau Chief Chris Jose is on this one. He's live in Vinings, where property values, Chris, I mean, you're finding out they're down by 10%.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, George, nobody in this neighborhood is happy about it. This is Log Cabin Drive near Atlanta Road. I checked the current home listings in this area. Homes are going anywhere between $500,000 and $1.5 million.
From $1.2 million to $600,000 in like that.
Barry Gottman lives near Sterigenics. He told me his friend lost a lot of money. The longtime Smyrna homeowner is afraid he's next.
And people that have tried to sell couldn't sell.
Homeowners within a 2-mile radius of the medical sterilization plants have seen their property values drop 10%. The Cobb County Board of Tax Assessors approved the reduction on residential property valuations in April. Barry tried to refinance his house, but he backed out.
One appraisal came in like $16,000 below what the tax assessor's appraisal was.
I looked up some homes on the tax assessor's website. We're choosing not to show addresses because the homes are currently on the market. Last year, one home appraised at $453,500. This year, the fair market value is $408,000. A $710,000 appraisal last year is down to $639,000. Those kind of numbers scared away new home buyer Danny Arango.
We definitely would not consider anything in Vinings whatsoever.
A Sterigenics spokesman told me across the board, the valuation of over 5,000 residential properties is unreasonable. In a statement, Sterigenics said in part, the fact is the Sterigenics facility is safe and not causing anyone harm.
That was my whole down payment. It was 10%.
The chief appraiser says that the board recognizes that there is an environmental air quality concern out here. Last month, Sterigenics filed the lawsuit against Cobb County, claiming that the board's actions could cause economic harm. Reporting live in Cobb County, Vinings, Chris Jose, Channel 2 Action News.
Now, it's been documented that Sterigenics has paid out around $35 million to settle some of the claims in the state of Georgia. There was one time where Cobb County told Sterigenics they couldn't operate. They were able to get some type of waiver, either from the federal government, from the state government, for them to continue to operate. But you want to ask yourself, if you're within a few miles of the Sterigenics operation, what do you think that could potentially be doing to your health? And what's very, very unusual is that Sterigenics has a footprint in a really, really nice part of the city. So even though it's still close to the Upper West Side part, it's also very close to Smyrna. It's also very close to Vinings. So these are some of the things that you want to look at. When you're looking at a particular place to live, don't just look at the price. Don't just look at the location. Also look at what is in the surrounding area, right? What was there before you moved in? Because what you could find is that one of the reasons why these particular properties could be so attractively priced is because nobody really wanted to live here historically because of what was in the area. Now, even because this area is becoming more and more popular, a lot of people in this area are ignoring what's around them. However, they could be taking a long-term gamble with their health, because we understand that environmental warfare is also part of economic warfare, and it's not something I think people should disregard. I think they may want to do the research, do the knowledge, understand what they're getting themselves into, and making sure they're not taking a really, really big risk just to live somewhere in the city. Hope you got some value from it. Talk to you later.